Hello, everyone. My name is Naomi Soleil Bonardi, and welcome to my presentation. We're going to be talking about Concho Hearts Hospice, which is the agency that I was volunteering at this semester. So let's get into it. Here's my introduction. The purpose of this presentation is to educate my peers and professionals about Concho Hearts Hospice, which is a hospice that's located in the office that I was closest to was in Pflugerville, but they work all over Central Texas. They go to Kyle, College Station. The places that I was in was San Antonio, San Angelo, and Austin. Um, Hospice is specialized care which is designed to serve any patient who is terminally ill, generally with a life expectancy of 6 months or less. If they go over these 6 months, they are reinserted after being evaluated by the team during the IDT meetings that I would attend. Um, the unofficial mission, which is the mission I found on their website, is to provide compassionate and personalized care for individuals facing life limiting illnesses. Um, so, the key services that they provide are provided by like this whole team of people. So, chaplains, social workers, nurses, technicians, and doctors, and they all work together to make sure that your family member is being taken care of. So these people provide medical support and pain symptom management. Spiritual care is from the chaplains, so it can either be religious or just things that you might be going through emotionally, and legal and practical guidance for families. That mostly comes from the social workers, so they kind of help with tying up the loose ends that happen when people are about to pass away, and personal care, which is mostly like grooming, bathing, the things that you might not want to do with your family members so that you can just focus on spending more time with them. The population that we served was the patients and their families who choose palliative or comfort care over treatment. So, my volunteer experience. My roles and responsibilities were mostly providing companionship and assisting with activities of daily living, also known as ADLs. This is what I was mentioning when I was talking about the personal care in my agency overview. The ADLs are what hospice uses to evaluate what a patient is able to do on their own. So bathing, dressing, toileting, eating, grooming, transferring, and continence. Since I was not trained in all of these things, I only helped with eating and like moving their chairs around or getting them things that they wanted, like water, napkins, that kind of thing. Um, Learning experience, I gained a lot of insight into the emotional and physical challenges that hospice patients face. I saw what it feels like for them to it seemed like they looked a little ignored at times. There were neglectful moments at times. Um, it wasn't that the staff was bad at their job, they were just not equipped to deal with as many patients as they had. There weren't enough staff members and there were not enough volunteers. So I developed a lot of skills in resourcefulness and observation because I was not given a lot to work with. And I had to kind of come up with how I was going to spend time with these patients, how I was going to give them something a little different than what they had been experiencing. And the observation part was that I learned how to read people a little bit better. Old people, older, like the elderly, don't always um, speak their mind right off the bat. Maybe they're a little more soft spoken, like one of my patients. There's things like that that may prevent them from wanting to like speak up and kind of like advocate for themselves. So I had to learn a little bit how to like see when they needed something because they wouldn't always tell me. So the challenges I faced were communication and time management. I feel like communication and time management were some of my biggest issues at my agency because, again, as I said before, it seemed like there was not enough staff or enough to go around in general. The lack of training, the reason I feel like I was not trained adequately is because when I joined this agency, I was given a booklet to read. It was a book that talked about what it's like to reach the end of your life, which was helpful. But I think I also would have benefited more from like more training, the way that some of like other people have. Um, the travel time, this was more of a personal challenge. They were not based in one place. I thought they were at first. So I definitely should have done a little bit more research. That was something I learned on my own. But they were not just based in Pflugerville. As I said, they were moving all over Texas. So it was my job to also move all over Texas with these people. And then the limited resources and funding. Besides the fact that they did not give me a lot to work with, they couldn't give me a lot to work with because they don't have a lot to give me. So that is a common challenge with a lot of like hospice agencies. But yeah, opportunities that I was given, I was able to be very creative. I got to figure out what I wanted to do. Again, with the independent thinking, it was what I wanted to do. They asked me, "What do you want to do with the patients today?" And I was like, "Oh, okay." I figured out a lot. I thought that I was going to have more guidance during this volunteer experience. And it was just a lot of like, I wonder what I could do to make these patients have a good time today, which was really interesting and actually really nice to be able to figure that out. And building connections. I met a lot of people. I met everyone in that agency. I met everyone in every nursing home I went to. I made it a point to talk to everybody because I wanted to make sure they knew my face, they knew who I was, where I came from. And it was like just so there were never any issues anytime I came in. Um, the best and the worst. The best were the busy boards that I made. Busy boards were like sensory boards for them to play with. It helps them with like stimulation, again, having something a little different to do. I loved reading to them. I had a patient that every time I read to them, he would try to close the book and tell me that he was done listening to that and it was boring. But they would let me read sometimes. And when they did, I was super excited. The personal moments, I had a lot of heart to hearts with patients and I loved it. I had a lot of moments where they would just randomly tell me, like, I'm just so happy you're here. You mean so much to me. They used to compliment me, they used to give me advice. I really loved the people that I got to volunteer with because they just made it so much better. The worst was not much I could do alone. What I meant by that is like, there was a lot of things that I observed that could have been done better, and I couldn't do anything about it just because I was not trained. I'm just a volunteer, I'm just in phase one. There's not much I can do except speak up, but I always felt a little stuck in like the box that I was in. Final thoughts. Overall, I do not regret my volunteer experience. I gained a lot of personal skills that I have struggled with in my life. However, while I benefited from learning from those, the importance of self reliance, the importance of advocacy and time management, getting my stuff together, I feel like I could have experienced more if there had been more training, if there would have been a more structured system. I feel like I would have been able to. Um, but I will say that the fact that I was given so little to work with made me get a lot closer to my patients and a lot closer to the people that I would work with. So, these are my references. This is just one reference. This is just the website, Concho Hearts Hospice. And that's it. Thank you so much for being along for this. Have a good day.